All right, here we go, testing. Hey everyone, welcome back and thanks for checking out the videos. Today I want to talk about class 3. Just a brief rundown if you missed the class or if you're just checking out the site, let's kind of give you an idea of what that class is all about. So class 3, power and pleasure in the present moment. So in class 2, we talked about how our conditioned perception shapes our experience. So sort of how we've come to life thus far, we perceive the external world or what's coming at us in a particular way. We also talked about last week in class 2 that thoughts are not facts, and we don't have to identify specifically with our thoughts, and that it's all about getting to know how we're feeling. And so once again, perception of kind of what's happening out there of life and how we respond to it greatly shapes our experience of life. And we also talked about how that kind of puts us at a certain stress level or a certain place each day, which this perception may make it feel sometimes like life is really, really hard. And life is challenging and does have its challenges, and we all have our stuff. But the majority of time, if we kind of add up all the time that we spend worrying about the past or the future, and how much of that time we necessarily need to worry about it, and if we just focused on what we were doing in that moment, there may be a disparity there as far as how we're feeling about life or how we're perceiving it and what's actually happening. And so that's what class 3 is all about, is getting to know the present moment. Now, the present moment is kind of a big deal. There's a lot to it. There's a lot going on here, and we sort of lead into this understanding and getting to know the present moment and ourselves in the present moment by discussing the homework from the last class, which was the pleasant events calendar. And there we discussed what really was a pleasant event, and what did that mean to us. When we say something's pleasant, what does that actually mean? Right? We just kind of say, oh, I enjoy that, I like this, I don't like that. But really, what's happening? And by writing down specific occurrences that happen in our daily lives, we can begin to inquire into ourselves about what's really going on when we call something a pleasant moment. And if we boil it all down, we may find that it's certain physical sensations. There's a connection to our body and to our mind. We may feel ease and warmth and relax sort of in the body. And in the mind, if you think about it and think about a pleasant event for yourself, where was your mind at that point in time? Were you worrying about the past or stressing about the future? Most likely not. If you've ever been in a place that they call the zone, our mind was there and just 100% focused on what we were doing. And instead of just saying, oh, I like that, or I just had a great day, what class 3 is all about is investigating what that really means and ultimately approaching life and some of its more difficult moments with the understanding that even though everything isn't always going our way, when we get to know our body and our mind and our habitual responses, we can begin to create a little bit of space in between some of our more stressful habitual responses and maybe open up or create an ease or a softness to moments that we may deem unpleasant. But this, like all of the stuff in MBSR and in this class, takes practice. And we can't get there without kind of reconditioning our minds. And that's very, very important, that our minds have been conditioned over our entire life, and some people may even believe even longer than that. If there's a couple of books out there that talk about worrying about that tiger jumping out of the bushes, and we spent as a species a whole lot more time in a hunter-gatherer society than we have in this technological age. And so there's a good deal of patience that can come, or that should come, with some of these practices. Now, someone may come in and say, oh, well, sometimes I have a memory that makes me smile, or a thought that made me laugh, and that's pleasant, which is true. And this is another key concept. We're not necessarily trying to get rid of any worry, or sort of some of that wake me up juice that flows when we're in a stressful circumstance. We're just trying to get to know what's really happening inside of us in regards to that moment. And so going back to the idea that, oh, I had a thought that made me laugh, or a memory, if we think about that, we get pleasure for maybe a millisecond. That's pleasant. But what happens when we try to think about it for any longer than that quick second, right? We tend to want to hang on to it. We want that thought to stay. We want our life to go like that every single day. We say, why can't it just be like this? No pleasurable thought. Don't leave me. Stay with me, right? Grasping. We're clinging to it. And that very quickly becomes unpleasant. So staying in the moment isn't just getting rid of thoughts. It also is acknowledging a thought, and if it's funny, having a laugh at it. If it's a heavy thought, where there's some dense emotions attached to it, it may be something you want to bring back up in practice, in a sit, or even in a body scan if there's physical pain, because that may not be something that we can deal with right in that moment. And maybe not. But the idea is that when the thought comes, just acknowledge it and then let it go. Carry on with your day, what's happening in the moment. And as soon as these thoughts start churning, we can get stuck in them. We may get carried away by them. You see, we're not trying to stop thoughts. That's, I think, probably pretty much impossible to stop thoughts. They're going to keep on coming, just like life. But we just don't want to get carried away by them. Because remember, again, from class 2, thoughts are not facts. We don't need to identify with these thoughts. It may very well have been that these thoughts or these conditioned responses served us at another time in our life. But if they're causing us stress or discomfort in any way now, this is where the present moment comes in. We use the present moment to acknowledge what's really happening. And that's the only time that we really have to understand what's really happening with these thoughts. And many times we might find that if we're spending too much time in our past, or worrying about what's going to happen, or what we think our imagination has sort of conjured up, of a stew of all the catastrophic things that could possibly happen in this moment, we might find that we're missing some of life's pleasant moments because we're spending all this time in worry. And that when we come back and connect to what's happening right here and right now, we may find over time and with practice that life's pretty good, and that the majority of time is spent learning about new things and who we are, and truly getting to know ourselves. And so when we push away how we're truly feeling in an effort to, because we just don't like the way stress or anxiety or worry feels, we're basically saying to ourselves that we're not allowed to feel that way when we don't accept a thought that comes to us. And the body doesn't like that. The mind and the body don't like that. We have an automatic system coming in and saying, hey, something's arose here and we need a little bit of attention. We need a little bit of care. Because what happens when we just push those feelings way, way down? They just keep on coming back, right? So next week in class 4, we're going to dive in and really explore and lean into our feelings and sensations. Actually kind of follow them around in the body. And we're going to do this in practice. Again, this stuff takes time. And if you come up against a really heavy memory or emotion, be gentle and patient with yourself. Learning the limits of our capacity, especially when we're starting out, is just as important and just as much a part of the practice as getting in there and inquiring and affectionately investigating kind of what's happening inside of us. The wandering mind is within us all. A non-judgmental, deliberate redirecting of our attention is just as much a part of the practice as the object of focus. And so once we begin accepting and allowing how we truly feel, we may find that life can be pretty open and pretty fun. And that's what this practice is really all about, is getting to know ourselves truly. And once we fully accept what's happening to us, whether it's physical or emotional, we can begin to not try to push away or fix these things that are arising, but to give them our awareness, our attention, our care. And once we do that, as these feelings arise, we'll begin to see that we may have a new relationship with pain or uncomfortable feelings. And one thing I always like to say is that pain, a physical sensation, its only purpose is to summon kindness. Because if we keep fueling that pain, then what happens? If we keep worrying or we keep trying to push it away, what happens? It keeps coming back. And sometimes it even gets compounded. So that's kind of just the refresher and the rundown of class 3. Feel free to contact me. Definitely hit subscribe with your email to keep up to date on the blog and any new updates. I'm running classes at the Gold's Gym in Arlington, as most of you know, and I'll be getting space at the green room. But if you just want to reach out and on anything at all, please feel free just to subscribe, shoot me an email, and I'd love to hear from you. Anything at all, any ideas that you have or experiences or whatever. All right. So practice for this week. Week 3 is sitting meditation with awareness of breath, 15 to 20 minutes per day, and a body scan. I will be posting body scans from the website, or you can use Calm or Headspace, are great apps for all kinds of stuff. Actually, Calm has like sleep stories if you have trouble sleeping, and those work really, really good for me. I've never been a great sleeper, and they've got just a wide array of different options. There's like educational stuff that'll put you right to sleep, or they have like fantasy type there's a guy with a deep voice telling a story about a dragon, and with the dragon flops its wings, it makes this sound. But you get the idea. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks again. All right. Have a wonderful, pleasant, present day.